All right, so I'm gonna just do a quick video, and sorry about this black line. I don't know why it's on the monitor. It just doesn't go away. Sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't, but whatever. Anyway, so there's there's a couple of misconceptions about trend. This is what you hear. Trend is a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This is one of the first things you learn, and it really is a very incomplete picture because you're taught that trend is higher high, higher low, higher high. So after the pullback, what comes? A higher high. After the pullback, what comes? A higher high. So most people, out of whatever reason, they'll buy the breakout, right? Or whatever over here, and put their stop here. This is the oldest quote unquote system there is. So a lot of times what you have is this. It goes down, it goes up a little bit, all right? And then it goes and it makes a lower low. Even though it's with trend, and even though you have your higher high, but what comes after that is a lower low or a corrective low or whatever you want to call it. Why? It is precisely because of this reason that above resistance there's going to be a buy, and then the stop is going to be here. So what CM does, it goes up, the higher high is made, and after that the lower low is made. And then one of two things will happen. Either it will test, making the higher low and then go, or it will just go. So scenario one, after that lower low, it'll just go. Scenario two, it'll test and then go. That's really it. So what I'm trying to say here is trend is not higher high, higher low, because this refuses to acknowledge the springs and upthrusts in this approach. And then when you ask, oh no, that's corrective low and this that, and you have 100 excuses why it's a higher low and not a lower low, and this external fucking structure and internal structure, this shift, that shift. Listen, that there are all these reasons, but the fact of the matter is, the real issue is that trend models, they don't take the springs and upthrusts into account. All right, if they did, the real model would be looking like this. You go high, low, higher high, and then one approach is to make that lower low, then make the higher high, then go like this: low, high, higher low, higher high, and then take up both the lows. Do this, test, then go up. This is more realistically the trend, where you have a high, you have a low, you have a higher high, you have a lower low, you have a higher high, higher high, higher high, a lower low. Here I had a higher low, higher low. This is what really happens. This is the correct picture of trend. All right, this is the correct, in my opinion, what really happens. High, low, higher high, lower low, and remember, the lower lows are the springs. springs. It could be something else. I don't know. It could be profit taking, whatever. It's just this is what really, this is the uh, real picture. Yeah, this other idea of just higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then all these reasons about internal structure, that structure, this structure, that's all justifications. What really happens is you have a high, a higher high, a lower low, and I can show you this now. So let's take a look at the proof. We take a look at the best trend so far from the ES. Take a look. What you have is a higher high, then you have another higher high. After that, what happens? What I did over here. But it basically, after the higher high, it takes out the lower low. See this? Where it's spring, right? So it makes a higher high, then what happens? You have a spring, which is what? It's taking out these lows. So it's a lower low. So makes a higher high, then makes a lower low, then makes it a higher high. Then again, after the higher high, makes a higher low, and then makes your, let me make it clear, right there, lower low. It makes not a higher low in every case, but a lower low. Lower low, and I'm labeled this spring because it based on how much of a low that is, and the fact that it doesn't have follow through, right? Because spring will not have follow through, and neither will enough thrust. So you see here, this is a clear spring lower low, makes a higher high, higher low, and spring lower low. Then makes a higher high, then makes a higher high. Over here, the higher highs, right? Then does it continue to make a higher low? No, it makes a spring, a lower low, right? Taking out stops here and here. Just like before, they took out stops below this low. Why? Because anytime you have a higher high, they're orders. So they fill those orders and then they stop them out, and then more above here, higher high, so longs in, and stop out. Then higher high. Then higher high, makes another higher high and stops all these guys out because they have their stops under here, under these higher lows. The higher lows are really dangerous, meaning they are, the low before the higher high is a spring target. The low before the higher high is a target for a spring. All right, so just have to find the higher highs. Here again, you have a higher high. That's the low before the higher high. It is going to be targeted, especially if you don't have a lot of follow through on the higher high. What happens? Bang! Here again, higher high, higher low, higher high. So what are you going to do? You're going to target, bangs, and then make a higher high, higher low, higher high. What happens? Bang again. Higher high. What happens? Bang again. Right? And then finally higher high. This is too much of a low. Then you have a very subtle higher high here. Enough for a spring. Bang right there. Take them out. This is all lower lows. Then finally it pukes. And now you're going to see the same shit on, you have a lower low here, right? Now watch what happens. You're going to watch the market, yeah? And we'll see how much of a correction this is. Like, I'd rather look at the Russell, because I think the Russell will be, because once the Russell establishes trend, holy shit, it's game over. Because that market is a trending market. Its nature is such that it's a trending market. So we'll see what happens. But here you have your lower low. You have your lower low. Now it's going to make some type of lower high. Either that will get up thrusted, or this will make a higher low. what is it? Higher low? Yeah, higher low, then lower low. And what do you know about lower lows? The high before the lower low is going to get targeted. You'll see. You'll see. Anyway, so that's the idea. The same thing that happened here. And the really point is this is not a pattern. Like this is not a, what should I say? It's not, what's the right word? I don't know. This isn't a mechanical pattern. This is how accumulation occurs. When the market makes a higher high, we know that it's proved itself in that it has the ability to make a higher high. So once that evidence is there, what is the best way to load the boat? And that the best way to do it is to pull it down and accumulate the stops, meaning go down where the sells are and buy the stops via a spring or a lower low, and then go higher again. So the higher high is an indication of the market's ability to go higher by definition. So if prices are willing to go higher, what do you want to do? You want to buy those highs? Of course not. What you want to do is bring it down at discounted prices where you can really get a wholesale, where you can get a lot of inventory. So you must target the stops because the stops represent inventory, or this represent product, or whatever you want to call it. So you have to take it down there in order to accumulate, because that, you know for a fact that there, if I take it down there, I can load the boat up. I can buy a lot because they have to sell, because the stop orders are going to force people to sell. And I can take the other side, load up, and then continue to go high, make a higher high, because the market already proved it can make a higher high. So this is missing from all what you know about trend. Like all the models, they're all missing. All they do is this. This right here is incorrect. This is purely mechanical, wishful thinking. This is a lie. All right. I don't know what else to call it, but we could call it missing information, whatever, or like oversimplified. Yes, maybe that's the right word. But for sure, this is one of those models that is erroneous. If this was true, everybody would just buy the high, put the stop below the prior low, or buy the pullback and just keep making money. But we see that's not the case. This is a oversimplification because it does not include the fact that there are lower lows in uptrends. It does not include the fact that there are lower lows in uptrends, and one might wonder why there are lower lows in uptrends, right? And then that opens up a box of worms. They're lower lows, so they can force the taking of inventory where people are trained to put their quote unquote tight stop. You know, that tight stop means that once it goes up and breaks this high, the tight stop would be right here. And everybody's going to have their stops here. That tight stop will be right below that low. So that will be targeted. And as it's targeted, they will buy. And now I'm going to prove this. I'm going to prove what I say. All right. Now you can see, we'll take a look at this spring. We'll take a look at this spring. We'll take a look at this spring, and we'll take a look at this spring. Take a look at 4 or 5 springs to prove to you that this is factual. All right. So what is this? 1217. All right. 1217. Right there. Can you explain to me why on this spring it goes down on the biggest volume there is in 12 waves, hit when it does the spring, obviously, doing what? Doing the shakeout, right? Running the stops right here. That is 808 times 1,000. So 808,000 on this spring here, followed by 458,000 on the way up. How is it that it went down, took out this low, and all this volume came in? Isn't this your climax and then your, what is sign of strength or whatever? That is when the force of demand and blah blah blah. But really, what it is you're going low enough to acquire all of this, because someone's taking the other side of this 808,000 and getting another 458,000. So these higher volume signatures are proving that someone is buying on the way down and up. Someone is buying on the panic selling, someone is buying on the spring and buying on the way up. But what is one example? Let's look at the next one. What is this? 10, I don't know, 10.4 or 10.3. Now you explain to me why, as it did the spring, here, you had all of a sudden 672 and then 823 up, right there. All that demand. And that's on a test of the spring. That's not the original spring. And all this, which is the biggest volume in at least 49 waves from that low. Right? Now let's take a look at that spring as well. Right from the low, 300, oh my Lord, 1,531,000 right here. There's your climactic move down. False buying on the way down, panic selling, check it, buy up, 398 down. Look at that. You know, right, and look, it's going to hit the low. It's going to hit that low. Below this is the spring. Below this level is the spring, okay? Watch. Boom, goes down, and the volume just shoots because they hit the stops. So the stop, that inventory, that buying, or those sell stops triggered. Someone else took the other side, bought it all up, took it up, tested, and look what happened. But that's not enough. Let's take a look at another example. So what is this? This is 819, I think. Here, down, down, get some buying here, test, retest, and bang, right there. 497 off of this minor little spring. So it's below, the spring is below that level. Hold on, let me see. So it's right, this dip. This dip here, this dip, this level, this trend, this line, under here does the spring. Boom, 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 and buy it all up. You see? And that's the biggest in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 waves. Hence the 11. Okay, but let's take a look at one more example. Bang! Right there. It did the spring. The spring was, I'll tell you exact level. It was, what's this low? 63.25 about. It's like right under here. So now take it down, all this volume coming out, all this volume coming out, and bring it up on volume. Boom, boom. That's your panic selling, or it's really your stop running. Stop running, followed by buying low. That's what it is. Stops going into, it's a stop run. That's what it is. And then it dries up right here on 36 and 95. And then you did one more little spring below this low, right? I explained to you, higher high, the low before the higher high is usually targeted. And they hit that, number went higher, and then went up. Never mind. I am done.